How you
Wonderful
doing?
to be here. Terrific. Thank
Good.
you.
You've had a busy day.
I have. This is my fourth media interview of the day.
See, you're like McCain and Obama. You're doing all these. You're doing the circuit right now, telling your stories.
It's turned out to be a very topical issue.
It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much for being here tonight. The Sweet Spot, and this is the book itself. Well put together, easy to read. It has a lot of great information. You'll notice mine is all marked up, and I do apologize about that. But I want to ask you, you come to us tonight with an interesting background. Why this book? Why at this time? And why did you think that it was the right book to write at this time?
Well, I spent 20 years with Ernst & Young in entrepreneurial services. I worked with about 150 different entrepreneurs, and I found that there were a small group of them that had learned the secrets of how to make their business recession-proof, fun to work at, not terribly hard work, all of the opposites of what you normally think entrepreneurship to be, which is stressful and risky and exhausting. And so what I did was study these companies, and I found some others that had some public information, and I gathered all of the best practices from those that had done this and all of the war stories of those that hadn't done it, and put them together into a book once I'd found what the patterns were, because there were 6 things that they did significantly differently from what everybody else did.
I always like to say that I want you to share some of those stories with us, but I don't want to give away all the stories, because we also want to encourage people to buy the book too. Sure. So I don't want to do all that at the same time telling the ending of it. What did that experience about working with those companies and really understanding what they were doing, what did that do for you? Did it open your eyes? Did you have a better understanding?
It really told me what my sweet spot was, in that I had always been trying to figure out what it is that I should be doing for a living. And my experience was that as an accountant and as an auditor with these companies, I would occasionally get together with them for breakfast just to talk about general business things. And I found that the more of these that I did, having worked with all of these different entrepreneurs, when they kind of poured their heart out to me about what was keeping them awake at night, I could say, well, you know, I talked to another entrepreneur last year, and this was how he approached the same problem. And I began to learn that my real role, my sweet spot, is to tell the stories of successful entrepreneurs to other entrepreneurs so that they can learn from those stories.
Did you have a better understanding or a respect for what it must be like for those individuals to go through that process also at the same time? Was it a new pair of glasses to see their commitment?
Absolutely, and it took a long time to find the patterns, because it's so the mystique of entrepreneurship as being grueling and risky and stressful is so well established, and there are so many examples of that it takes a while before you start to find that there is a better way to make a living.
I think a lot of us can relate to what a sweet spot is if we're golfers. It's that kind of, it's the flush, you know, you just hit the ball on the perfect spot. But when you're writing about it and when you're talking about it, can you tell me what your interpretation, what is the sweet spot?
The sweet spot is where 3 things intersect. The first is your gift, which is something that you do uniquely well. Second is your passion, which is something that you love doing. And the third is your purpose, which is something that's needed in the world that you care about. And sometimes it can take a lifetime to find something that is in that sweet spot that meets all 3 of those criteria. Other people stumble on it very quickly. Took me about 40 years to find mine.
Do we all find it?
I think everybody has one. I think everybody has work that they were meant to do. It's just a matter of finding it. I know some people who have worked at jobs that they loathe for 20 or 30 years, and then they stumbled on it. In other cases, I know people who've been more methodical about doing it, about trying to find, you know, what is it that I'm meant to do, and they've been a little bit more successful. So what I tried to do in the book was put together some exercises, because it's an iterative process. And the astonishing thing is that, particularly now with young people kind of pushed into the job market quickly, forced to specialize, I think it's harder now to find that sweet spot, to discover what our real gifts and our passions are, than it was a generation or 2 ago when I was growing up in the hippie days.
Yeah.
You know, what we were expected to do is take a year off after high school and go and find ourselves. And that was really helpful in terms of trying something completely different and learning, hey, I'm not too bad at doing that. Maybe this is something I could leverage into a career.
I know that we're gonna talk about those different things, about the gifts and the passions, and I want you to walk us through it, because I think identifying it. And by the way, the book also helps us do that. You've broken it down. There's a great deal in regards to saying what questions to ask, and I like how you kind of put those questions to walk us through the process of it. Because I think if you say to somebody, well, just find a gift, and you kind of go, what are you talking about? Right. Or I think that, that's one of the things that, thank you for holding our hand through the process. I want to go off to the phones, because we always enjoy having viewers call us and find their experiences. Mark's on the line. How you doing, Mark?
Good. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing fine, buddy. Dave is with us tonight, and his book is available on bookshelves all over the place. Chapters? Available at Chapters. See that? Available at Chapters. Have you, Mark, did you start your own business?
No.
No?
I'm a retiree from GM.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if you even recognize my voice. You might.
Yep.
Okay.
I do.
I do have I have come up with an idea. I don't know if this would work, but I don't want it to sound like it's a joke. But I think it could be a serious business. What I had come across was a business that, if it was possible to even start, I'd like to start a gas station, a restaurant, a playground for children, plus be able to cater to truckers. Now, for example, say I was to buy a piece of property along the 401, an acre and a half or 2 acres, and start a gas station, which I would call Corner of Gas, and the Ruby restaurant, and a playground for children, but be able to help out cater to the truckers. Would that be a viable solution? Is that a business that could be started? You know what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
I'd like to be able to. I thought that was a great idea. I've seen the comedy show before, but wouldn't that be an incredible business to be able to start?
And I think that what I want to do is pass it over to Dave and help Mark through the process that you would ask others that not only read this book, but part of the research that you've done, and help Mark through that decision-making process, if you don't mind.
Just a comment, sir. I was at the credit union, and they did tell me that it was one of the most incredible ideas that they've heard in a long time. Because she said that just the name alone, Corner of Gas, the Ruby restaurant, it's all known across Canada. And if it was located on the 401 somewhere, which is a vacation spot for people to travel along, going from one place to another, she thought it was an incredibly brilliant idea. But there's all kinds of problems with environmental assessments, the amount of money you could borrow. The other gas companies, the big 4 gas companies, would probably try to prevent me from doing so.
Okay.
It is an idea. I think it's a very neat idea.
Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Well, it's an interesting idea. At this stage, I can perceive all kinds of questions and problems. What I recommend in the book is, rather than starting with an idea, go out and find something that's needed. So if you think that's an idea, then go out to the places, the current truck stops, and talk to the people there and ask them if they would go to a place like this. And keep asking them. If they say yes, I mean, it's pretty easy for people to say yes to a question like this. Probe. Ask them, what kind of things would it need to include to attract them? Find out what it is that makes people stop at a particular truck stop. My guess would be it might be just it happens to be at the right location, and it could have the worst amenities on the planet. If it has the right location, that might be it might be a winner nevertheless. So my caution to you about good ideas is there's lots of them out there. I can imagine in this particular case you might have some intellectual property issues to deal with as well over the name. You might have to get the rights to that. But aside from that, start without a preconception of the good idea. Start with identifying a need. So that means if this is an area that interests you, go out to the truck stops, talk to the truckers, talk to people that take their families to these places, and ask them, how do they choose which ones to stop at? What kind of amenities do they look for? What do they find is missing? Don't tell them what you're offering.
That's a great point right there. What is missing?
Yeah.
I like that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's right. It's finding a need and filling it. It's not rocket science. And you don't need to use Google to find it.
Right.
You need to wear out a lot of shoes and talk to a lot of people until you're almost exhausted from doing so. But sooner or later, you'll start to find some patterns. You'll start to hear people saying, boy, if only there was this.
Yeah.
And after a while, you'll hear it often enough, you'll be able to say, well, what if we did this and what if we did this? And they'll help you develop the idea. They'll say, well, yeah, I might do that, but if it had this as well, then I'd really go for it.
Just out of curiosity, Dave, how many times do people start the process and it turns out to be something totally different than what they originally thought, or a different version of it because of their research that they've done?
If they've done their research well, it almost always changes.
It does.
It always almost
rapidly,
gets to be,
like dramatically, I mean?
Yeah, quite dramatically. I can tell you one particular instance where a couple that I know were determined they were going to create farmers markets for people that were unable to get local and organic food access in their neighborhoods. So they actually thought that what they were going to do is get a bunch of semi-trailer trucks and make a mobile farmers market. They were going to drive around to communities. Sounded like a really interesting idea. They talked to people in the communities who said, yeah, if it's there, we'll buy stuff from it. But as they did further research, they discovered there were all kinds of obstacles, and that there were perfectly good reasons why nobody had come up with that idea before. So they kept digging, they kept asking questions, and finally the business that they went into was working with the local and organic farmers and selling their product not to the general public, but to restaurants who wanted 100-mile diet menus. And they've now been operating for 6 months. They have more business. They're turning away new customers every day. And so the business that they ended up in was vaguely similar to what they originally had intended, but their customer was not at all the customer they originally expected.
It's unbelievable. Mark, the book is available at Chapters, okay, bud? And what I was going to say is there is a whole bunch of different exercises throughout the book about asking certain questions and how you can ask other people about certain aspects of your idea, your personality, all those kind of things to kind of help you through the process. And I found it really interesting, especially dealing with other small business owners. I've heard these conversations before. I've never seen it put down in writing. So that might be a real help, take you to the next step if you're going to pursue that. Is that any help?
Well, I was just wondering, just the name alone, say for example, I was able to create a gas station called Corner Gas, in the Ruby restaurant, everybody would be able to relate to that, and they might be excited about coming there to stop and to visit, pick up your gas, to be able to eat there.
Yeah.
It would be it's completely different than anything that you would get from Sunoco, Esso, or anything else. But
I think the biggest thing will be this whole license issue. I think that internet, the properties aspect of it and the concept aspect of it, because people are going to want that particular brand because it's a well-known brand now because of the television show. I think that would be, I'm speaking outside of my pay scale, but I would imagine, Dave, that would be a big issue.
I think it would
Yeah.
be. And the more successful it was, the more an issue
Yeah.
it would be, because
Yeah.
they might come back at you afterward. But I'm not saying you're not onto a good idea. What I'm saying is test that idea in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Don't go spending money to develop it yet. Get out there and
Yeah.
talk to the people who might stop there and really find out whether there's a need for what you're providing and make sure it's different.
Do you think it's something that I could pursue, though?
Sure.
Why not? Sure.
Because the credit union had told me that was one of the more incredible ideas they'd ever heard. They thought it was what an amazing business that would be like. You would be starting a business up that everybody can relate to that name, and people would be excited about stopping in.
Yeah.
So they said, well, we're going to the Corner Gas, and there's the restaurant and all. It's just something totally different. It's like a bit of a dream. But
Yeah.
wouldn't it be interesting to have something like that on the 401, for example, and people could stop in knowing that it's from a comedy show, but it's
Yeah.
an actual business that runs. It's up and running.
Yeah, I think it could be a success, but please do your research first.
I got to take a commercial break. Sorry, Mark. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about finding the sweet spot. Tonight is brought to you by another small business. It's got a little bit bigger, but it is, of course, our good friends at End of the Roll. You know what? nobody beats End of the Roll.
It's time for the Great Refrigerator Roundup, your hassle-free way to get rid of your old fridges and freezers. These electricity guzzlers can waste up to $150 a year. Book your appointment for pickup today by visiting everykilowattcounts.com/roundup or by calling 1-877-797-9473 to have your old fridge or freezer removed for free. Learn more about the Great Refrigerator Roundup at everykilowattcounts.com. Meridian and Hydro One, proud partners in the Clinton Green Challenge.
We've been improving home improvement for over 50 years now. Millwork Home Center.
You've trusted Millwork Home Center as your one-stop building center, but did you know that they also have a complete woodworking shop? Countertops, custom-designed kitchens, stairs, and doors are done on site, from their home to yours.
Millwork Home Center, your home improvement home.
We've been dealing with Durham Medical for close to 5 years. We've always had quality service, prompt service. Their delivery policy is fantastic.
I find that Durham Medical is local to well clinics in Durham, and if I find that I'm not able to pick up my order myself after ordering, they will deliver to my clinic for me as well.
Prices are always competitive. We've compared and did compare for the first couple of years, and now we don't. It's always the first phone call we make.
End of the Roll's new fall styles have arrived at incredible prices. Get your whole house floored at End of the Roll, Canada's flooring leader.
Ontario Power Generation is proud to be a leader in Durham's vibrant energy sector. About 30% of Ontario's electricity is produced safely right here in Durham Region.
As a nuclear operator, my job is to ensure safe, reliable performance to meet Ontario's electricity needs every day of the year. Nuclear operators are lifelong learners who undergo years of stringent training.
Ontario Power Generation in Durham Region. It's where we work. It's where we live.
How to get more done. Get yourself the Duet washer that can handle up to 16 pairs of jeans in a single load. And if space is a problem, get these. A versatile washer and dryer that fit into compact places. Whirlpool, the best-selling laundry brand in the world. They're fast and powerful, but gentle on your clothes. Got a lot of laundry? Get a Whirlpool washer here and get more done.
Available at Patty's Market in Hampton.
For what's going on around the world and across the country, go to CBC News, The National.
Thanks for joining us on the Wednesday edition of First Take Live, wherever you're tuning in across Ontario. What a glorious night it is. A little cool out there. Once again, fall temperatures. At least we didn't get that snow that our good friends up in the northern part of Ontario did get. Dave Pollard is with us tonight, and this is his brand new book, Finding the Sweet Spot. It is available at Chapters, and we congratulate him on this book and thank him for spending time with us. Nigel's on the line, our good friend from Whitby, Ontario. Nigel, how are you, my friend?
Just fine, and I love the snow, Dan.
You know what, Nigel? I know you do. And you know what, if I could do this show like in Cuba right now for the rest of the winter, I'd be really happy.
Yeah, so would Paula.
Yeah, I know she would. I know. Good to hear from you, my friend.
Thank you, Dan.
Question, comment? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, Dave is one of the few accountants I've had the pleasure of watching who has a personality. It probably helps him in his business. Secondly, my son got his first job. He's got a business degree and master's in creativity, which is another business degree, and got his first job with Kerry Adler at webhelp.com, a great entrepreneur. He was in the Profit Magazine's quickest rising startups a few years ago, and he sold that, and now he's in the wind power. But Kerry's forte seemed to be in not only selling what he was, the sweet spot, the business that he was in, but also in motivating in Cam's case, my son's case, in web.A, small group, maybe 40, to really work their asses off. They're all young and all eager, and it worked well.
And life is good for him now?
Well, now he's with Ted Rogers, and he's doing great.
Oh, and making a bucket full of cash?
Of course.
Yeah, I know. Let me ask you something, Nigel, and I want to ask you, I know that you're an attorney, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So did you know what your natural gifts were?
No, not really. I shouldn't say. To some extent, yes. I'm good with language. Could have become a teacher too, but I became an attorney because that's what my dad wanted to be. But war interrupted, and he never got there. But what I am not is a businessman, and there are a lot of professionals out there who are lousy businessmen, as I'm sure Dave will attest to.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you two more questions, and I'm going to let you go because I want to get back to Dave. Are you passionate about your profession?
Am I what? I'm sorry.
Passionate?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Dad.
Passionate. Are you passionate?
I'm passionate about what I do, yes.
Yes. And do you truly believe that there's a purpose?
Yes, there's definitely a purpose.
Okay.
And, as you know, part of that purpose is giving back to the community.
Yes. And I know that's very important to you, and you've done a wonderful job. I always say when I grow up, I hope to be like you, Nigel. You know that, eh? Hey, listen, I'll see you at the Peter Perry Awards, hopefully.
Great. I'm bringing my mother along.
Oh, it'll be good to see you, buddy.
Righto.
All right,
Thank
God
you.
bless. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Nigel from Whitby joining us. So walk us through this gift. How do we find out what our gift is, Dave?
There's all kinds of different ways, and in fact, sometimes the gift will point you to the passion, which will point you to the purpose, and sometimes you take it the opposite way around. Varies from person to person, and it's an iterative process. In terms of your gift, one of the ways that I found that works for a lot of people is to ask people that you know and love, what do you think I do really well? That can be a real eye-opener, because in many cases, other people will recognize your gifts even better than you can.
Is that also very hard for people to do?
It's harder to ask than to get people to give you an honest answer. Yeah.
And you want them to be honest, don't you?
Absolutely.
And that's because if you don't truly understand, if they're not honest with you, you could waste months, years going down the wrong pattern. That also means that we have to be able to accept that what we think or what we really want may not fit what people think our gifts are.
Absolutely. And I think one of the challenges is now that when we grow up and we come out of school, we're pushed very quickly to try and find a job. So we don't have the time to retry doing a whole bunch of different things to find out what we're really good at or what we really love doing.
Is that a statement on the school system? Should this book, let me ask you something, should this book be part of a reading assignment for people that are in high school so that let's go off and snowboard and Whistler and have a good time and all those kind of things. But should that be part of the process? Because we do have a young generation, and you've written about it in the book, about this disappearing age force that's going to be going out. We need a lot more people in the workforce.
Right.
The younger people are not like the traditional employees like you and I were for many, many years. The things are changing dramatically. So would this be a great asset for those younger people to say, what is my gift? What is my purpose? What is?
I think it would be useful, but only if they first had some face-to-face experience with people who are really in business, who are really entrepreneurs. So I would say if I had the opportunity to run a small workshop program on entrepreneurship, rather than getting them to do the exercises in the book, I would wrench them out of the classroom and have them go out and meet with 3 or 4 entrepreneurs in their community who had completely different lines of business and who had arrived at them in different ways, and learn, just get a sense for what's possible by talking to people who've actually made a living for themselves, not by having somebody hand it to them by virtue of their diploma, but by doing their own research and learning from those stories, from those personal stories, what the process is to find out what you're good at, to do the research, to do the innovation, and to realize that.
With all your interviews and the people that you spoke with and all the research that you've done and the amount of writing that you've done, which we should say is unbelievable and also very impressive, did all the people that you had those breakfasts or lunches with, those companies that you work with, did they go through the same process as what you share with the reader in this book? And that's the reason why they found that successful kind of overlapping opportunity?
I think they all went through it. They went through it in different ways and different styles and at different times in their life. But they had somehow or other managed to find what was the sweet spot for them. And usually it was by trial and error, by doing a lot of things that they hated, and then doing a bunch of jobs that they really loved but were completely hopeless at doing, and then finding some stuff that they loved doing and were really good at doing. I actually talked to an individual who was seriously trying to make a living teaching people to speak Klingon. That was it, and he was very good at it, and he was very passionate about it, but it wasn't in the sweet spot because there was no need for that particular
Did you do what I just did when you said that? Did you say, excuse me?
Yeah, exactly. I did. I did. But it's funny, you know, some people get so focused, they are so determined that this is the opportunity of a lifetime. They get blind to the fact that it's just not, for one reason or another, it's just not viable.
Just out of curiosity, because you brought the word determination up, I'm going to have to grab onto that word just for a moment. Is determination enough?
Determination is not enough, but it is essential, but sometimes determination can actually be an obstacle. I tell the story in the book about the guy who got into the plastic decking business 10 years before it became mainstream. And he was so determined, he committed his family's and his life savings to this particular enterprise and almost went bankrupt in the process, lost 5 years of his life. Because he didn't listen when I said to him, do your research first, go out to Home Depot, or I guess it was Beaver Lumber in those days.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And ask them whether or not they'll find shelf space for this stuff. Ask if you can go into the Beaver Lumber stores and just hang around and show them this model and ask them whether they would buy it. He refused to do any of that. He was absolutely determined that this was a surefire winner, lost everything in it. 10 years later, what the circumstances had completely changed because we'd had the big creosote scare and people were saying, oh, I don't want my kids touching stuff that has all this toxic material on it. And by that time, he was out of business. So
and the technology had moved up, and then the conscious awareness about being a socially conscious and responsible citizen, and the timing was a little bit off. So it can blind us. That passion and determination can blind us.
And that's why you have to stay so close to the customers and potential customers. Keep listening to them. And if they're too nice to you, if they're always telling you what you want to hear, you got to be a little bit suspicious. You need to have what I call pathfinder customers, which are the people who are thinking a little bit ahead and who will tell you bluntly and honestly whether or not what you're talking about makes sense and whether they'd buy it.
Just before we go into commercial break, will we go through this exercise throughout our life, even if we don't start our own business, start a business of ourselves, but change jobs? Will we go through this whole process of truly understanding who I am, what my gifts are, what my purpose is, you know, all that?
Yeah, I think we do it in a number of areas. In fact, I draw the analogy sometimes between finding the work you were meant to do and finding the partner for marriage that you were meant to do. And in some cases, to some extent, a business partnership and a marriage have a lot in common. And it's the same kind of approach. You've got to find the person who's in the sweet spot in that part of your life.
I think that's a great point, and I think it's a very good point to bring up also, because I think that we as individuals are always evolving, and I think our relationships are evolving and our businesses are evolving, and we look at things a little bit different. I think it's a really, really good point. Once again, the book is available at Chapters Everywhere, and Dave Pollard is with us tonight, Finding the Sweet Spot. It is a very enjoyable read. Matter of fact, there's a lot of great tools in it also at the same time. So I know that there is a lot of individuals in our community right at this particular time that are getting out of manufacturing and moving into other fields, going back to school because of the economic situation. But maybe this might be just a book that will be able to help you through a lot of the questions that you want to ask yourself about the next chapter of your life. It could be one of those reads that really, truly help you determine truly where your gifts are and where the next chapter of your life will start. More when we return on the Wednesday edition of First Take Live.
Men's clothing is provided by Murray Johnston Menswear.
It's time for the Great Refrigerator Roundup, your hassle-free way to get rid of your old fridges and freezers. These electricity guzzlers can waste up to $150 a year. Book your appointment for pickup today by visiting everykilowattcounts.com/roundup or by calling 1-877-797-9473 to have your old fridge or freezer removed for free. Learn more about the Great Refrigerator Roundup at everykilowattcounts.com. Iridian and Hydro One, proud partners in the Clarington Green Challenge.
Hi folks, Paul here from Saturn South of Pickering. We've been providing the Durham region with great vehicles for over 19 years, and our continued commitment continues.
Come in and see our Swedish topless models.
Come in now for the Super Clear-Out, a 2008 Saab 9.3 convertible, only $45,520.
And we'll wash your vehicle too when you come in for service.
Saturn Saab of Pickering, where you're not just a customer, you're part of our family. Saturn Saab of Pickering, 980 Kingston Road, Pickering.
With over 25 years in the Durham region, Sign Design is a commercial signage and vehicle lettering company. By asking questions, they'll figure out quickly what you need and recommend the perfect solution. And backed by a 3-part guarantee, you won't be the least bit disappointed with the end result. From signs to fully wrapped trailers, they've seen and done it all. Let them make your next lettering or signage project come alive the way you want it, on time.
We care. It's absolutely guaranteed.
Sign Design.
Keeping it green, we all have our role.
Did you know trees play a key role in our environment, cleaning the air of carbon dioxide, a major greenhouse management? North America's largest recycler, last year alone recycled enough paper to save 41 million trees. From everyday collection to environmental protection, think green, think waste management. Waste Management, proud partner in the Clarington Green Challenge.
What do you think I should pay for my deductible? Do you think like 500, 1,000? Hi, what do you think? 500, 1,000, collision, comprehensive? I don't even know what it means. Do you even know what that means? Is $1,000 deductible too high?
Number 40. You know that place where lots of questions means nobody seems to know?
I'm so there.
You like answers? Get advice and savings from a State Farm agent. Call, click, or visit and switch. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
In Port Perry, see State Farm agent Brent Holmes for all your insurance and financial services needs.
If your child is not reaching his or her learning potential, call the Canadian Learning Center at 436-3600. If your child wants better grades, more confidence, and self-esteem, Canadian Learning Center will develop a blueprint of your child's strengths and needs, then develop a personalized program to fill your child's skill gaps. Call 436-3600 for a free assessment during their grand opening. Better grades, confidence, and a higher self-esteem guaranteed. Canadian Learning Center, where learning empowers.
Welcome back once again. It is the Wednesday edition of First Take Live, wherever you're tuning in across Ontario. What a great show we have for you tonight. I was at a business building bridges to better business in Clarington. Thank you very much for everyone that allowed me to be a participant and also your keynote speaker today. Had a wonderful time, met a lot of interesting people, and I salute all those that have their own businesses, took that leap of faith, and you're truly doing something that you love. This book, Finding the Sweet Spot, is now available. Chapters, as a matter of fact, I would imagine is available online. And Dave Pollard is with us tonight. And again, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You getting a lot of enjoyment out of this process, by the way?
I'm loving it. This is my first ever book, and it's a great learning experience. And it's a chance, I think, to do what is in my sweet spot, which is to help other people imagine possibilities in their lives.
Is this your gift, by the way?
It's one of my gifts, is writing. I write every day. I have a web blog on top of the book and the articles I write in my 9-to-5 job.
Right.
And I think writing has become my gift, so this is part of my gift.
Are you passionate about it? I'm asking you all these questions right for your book. You know that, eh?
Absolutely, absolutely. If I miss a day in my web blog, I feel as if something has been missed from my life.
And because of the experiences that you've had, because you've written this book, because of the knowledge that rattles around in there, and that you've been able to sit down and learn from some of the best, is this truly your purpose?
I think it is. In fact, my guess is that the follow-up book to this book will be a book of stories about people who have applied this process or processes like it. and found their sweet spot, so that I can actually give people, share with people 100 stories of how and why this really works.
Now, you're not saying, though, that if they follow these principles and practices and what you wrote about, you 100% guaranteed that it'll be a success.
There's no guarantees,
Right.
but what it will do is help you avoid the landmines that sink most businesses. So
Yeah.
your chances of succeeding will be a lot higher if you learn from the lessons from this book, which aren't my lessons.
Right.
They're the lessons of a whole bunch of entrepreneurs who've taught me what works.
Can I ask you, there's a couple things that you and I talked about through the commercial break, and I always find those conversations, I wish we'd run the cameras, because there's really good conversation that happened there. Fear plays a big part in finding purpose, finding our gift, finding our new direction in life. If you had to put on a percentage base about fear and how it plays a role in finding our sweet spot, what would it be?
I would say it probably discourages 9 out of 10 people. And of those people that actually start their business, fear is probably the cause for half of them giving up too early before they actually see the idea through. It's not a lack of passion, it's the fear that they're not going to succeed. And a lot of people get so tied up with the idea, if it's something they're passionate about, they're afraid that if they fail, they will never again have the chance to do work that they're passionate about. And that's
a really good point.
That's heartbreaking.
That's a really good point, because it could be the dream that they've been speaking or thinking about for years.
Right.
And if they do fail on that one dream, it won't be what they always
To some
wanted
people,
do.
it's almost better just to dream about it
Instead of actually
doing it.
Let's go off to another caller. You don't mind, eh?
Sure.
That's pretty good, I mean. Jennifer, are you there?
Hi, Dan. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Congratulations, by the way, on your new book.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you
Anyways,
very
I just
much.
wanted to say how interesting this program is to me tonight, because I'm actually living what you're talking about. So anybody
Share a
out
little
there
bit. Share a little bit.
Okay. Actually, it's been a bit of a journey. I was in the graphic arts business for maybe, let's say, 20 years. And due to downsizing of different companies and whatnot, I was forced out of jobs about 5 times. So in that sort of journey, I figured out, what's the big picture here? What am I supposed to be doing? And looking back, I went, okay, maybe that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I should be doing something better and bigger with my life. I also turned 40, and it was kind of a turning point in my life, and I started a new business with my cousin, and I just feel passionate about it. I wake up every morning feeling energized and feeling good about what I'm doing and living my dream, and I'm just going to move forward. I'm going to follow everything that I guess maybe your mom tells you when you're growing up, that, live your dream, because that's what you've got right now. And it's just amazing the people I've met through my journey. I've met Dan Carter at other functions, and I think he's been a big influence. A lot of people have been influential throughout my journey, listening to different programs, tuning in tonight. I just happened to turn the TV on, and there you were, and you were talking exactly what I'm doing. So that's why I'm calling in to say, this is amazing. Like, people really have to look at their lives and say, what can I do? Maybe they're struggling with a job right now. Maybe they're going, oh, but I can't do it. Well, I'm living it. I'm breathing it. I'm doing it. Just follow your passion. Live and just do what your heart tells you to do. I know that, I've had a lot of pie in the sky ideas, but I've gone with it. I've followed what I think is right. I do pick up the phone and call people and get advice, and I'm never afraid to ask the question. So I think what you're saying, I'm just reinstilling what you're saying as a viewer, and that's why I'm calling in to say, yeah, you're totally bang on right what you're doing, and I'm going to read your book, and I'd love to talk to you.
Terrific, and congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So I probably said enough, but...
You made my night.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay,
I really
bye-bye.
appreciate it. Take care of yourself.
She makes an interesting point, though, that she went into this new business with a partner. And that's absolutely critical, is not to try and do it alone. The biggest cause of failure of small enterprises is a sole proprietor who tries to do everything, and he ends up exhausted, and he ends up doing at least one thing really badly, because nobody can be good at everything.
Can we pick up on that point? I got to go pay some bills, and when we come back, because I think there's some really important things about picking a partner or having a partner, and some things that you should really take into consideration. And I think you're absolutely right. We try too many times to be everything.
Yep.
And you know what? We end up doing surgery on ourselves, and that's never a good idea if we don't have a medical license, of course. It is the Wednesday edition of First Take Live, wherever you're tuning in across Ontario. Tonight's show is brought to you by End of the Roll. Nobody beats End of the Roll.
Dan's vehicle is provided by Whitby Toyota.
Ontario Power Generation is proud to be a leader in Durham's vibrant energy sector. About 30% of Ontario's electricity is produced safely right here in Durham Region.
As a nuclear operator, my job is to ensure safe, reliable performance to meet Ontario's electricity needs every day of the year. Nuclear operators are lifelong learners who undergo years of stringent training.
Ontario Power Generation in Durham Region. It's where we work. It's where we live.
Going green is on everyone's mind, and we all have the opportunity to truly lead the way. Channel 12 has teamed up with the municipality of Clarington for the Clarington Green Challenge. Together, the community will work to reduce electricity and waste. Residents and business alike will be challenged to reduce, reuse, and recycle over the next 12 months. Community results will be presented on a quarterly reports right here on Channel 12, so everyone knows the positive impact Clarington is making on the environment. For more information on how to participate and ideas on reducing your electricity and waste consumption, go to www.bluetogreen.net. Together, we can make a difference.
The Clarington Green Challenge is presented by Channel 12, the Municipality of Clarington, Viridian Corporation, Hydro One, Waste Management, and Ontario Power Generation.
End of the Roll's new fall styles have arrived at incredible prices. Get your whole house floored at End of the Roll, Canada's flooring leader.
Why do more drivers in North America choose State Farm than any other insurance company? Because State Farm gives you the price. And because of the professional service you get from State Farm agents like Nicole Curry. Whether it's a simple question or a difficult situation, Nicole Curry and her team will be there when you need her, just as she's been there for her Durham Region neighbors. Call Nicole Curry today and find out why nobody takes care of you like a State Farm agent. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Nothing that we can't do to get you a car loan. As long as you're ready to or willing to work with us, we'll find you a vehicle. We'll get it. If we don't have the car for you, we'll go out and find the car. Bring the car in, bring it to you, and we save you thousands of dollars from what the other guy's selling it down the road for. Because it's not in our inventory for a long time. It's in there specifically for you.
Welcome back to the Wednesday edition of First Take Live. Wherever you're tuning in across Ontario, thank you for finding time for us. For our viewers that are in between jobs or about to change jobs through making a choice in their own life, or choices that have been made on behalf of companies that are downsizing, tonight's guest may just be able to help you through that transitional period. Find the gifts that you're really good at. Find out what you're passionate about and give you the tools to be able to take that next step onto maybe going to school, bettering your relationship partnership or starting your own business. And it's all in the Finding the Sweet Spot, which is available on bookshelves. And matter of fact, I'm going to encourage you, if you're out and about at the Oshawa Center tonight, make sure you pick up a copy at Chapters. Dave, once again, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
I know that I'm pretty sure we have your website and stuff like that, and so people will be able to email you and visit your website to get more information. But we were talking about partnerships and about how we come up with the ideas, and then we want to do everything ourselves, and we don't invite other people into the process, and burnout comes, and not enough finances, and all those kind of things. You say, you've got to bring partners in, but there's certain things you want them to take into consideration when you write about partnership. Is that correct?
Right. You basically want partners who share your passion and your purpose and whose gifts complement your own.
Yeah.
If you have partners who have exactly the same gifts that you do, you're likely to be competing with each other in terms of ideas, and there will be gaps, skill gaps between you that will cause problems for your enterprise. So the real key is to find people and to get involved, to find them, to get involved in activities where people who share your passion and your purpose are likely to show up. And then when you meet with them, explore these ideas with them. And when you found the people that collectively have the gifts necessary to make a go of the enterprise, then you're off.
A really good point. If you have the two of you are doing the exact same thing, then you're both working in the same direction. You're not offsetting each other. So that's a really important part. But there's certain do's and don'ts about partnerships too. You talk a little bit about partnerships as absentee partners, and that's not healthy, correct?
Right.
Why?
Well, because in order to be a valuable partner, you need to be fully involved and engaged, and you can't be a decision maker if you're not fully aware of it. In many of these cases, these natural entrepreneurs are getting their financing from their partners, because what happens is their partners initially may start out as a potential customer or as a partner in the undertaking. They know, because they know the business very well, they've asked all the questions, they've been part of the research and innovation process, they know that that there's a market for this thing. They probably have the option right now in the market of getting 2% interest in the bank or investing in a venture that they know will be a success that will give them a significantly higher investment in that. So partnerships are not only useful for getting good advice and for matching off the skills that you lack in an enterprise, they're also useful as a source of financing for the business.
But you're not saying that absentee partnerships can't work. It's just not a preferred way, because I've heard of partners that don't know enough about the business, but they bring a great deal of finance to the table that helps us in that process. Do we turn those opportunities away?
I don't think you turn them away. I think what you want to do is tap into those people as well as you can. I know that some of these enterprises will involve people who are retired and they don't want to work a full day. So what they do is they bring them in on whenever you want to show up.
And that kind of expertise is gold right this particular time is going to come even more. We've got only a short version left in our last segment. I want to come back and just talk about why youth are getting this book. Why do they get this Finding the Sweet Spot? And you know what? The last thing is so what am I going to do now? So we're going to bring that up when we return on the Wednesday edition of First Take Live.
The Park Playhouse in Coburg is pleased to bring Country Music Award winner and Canada's very own country music star Shane Yellowbird to its stage. Come and experience country music at its finest, one night only, Saturday, November 15th.
Through 400 years of clashes and battles, conflicts and all-out war, men and women have risked their lives to save them. Perhaps with the hope that one day you might be able to see them in more peaceful surroundings. The Royal Lipizzaner Stallions.
General Motors Center, November 6th and 7th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets on sale now.
Keeping it green, we all have our role.
Ontario Power Generation's biodiversity program has helped create and care for wetlands, woodlands, plants, animals at our generating stations across our province. We're committed to biodiversity and sustainable development. To learn more, visit opg.com. Ontario Power Generation, a proud part of the community and a proud partner in the Clarington Green Challenge.
Welcome to Whitby Toyota. How can we help you?
With over 25 years in business, Whitby Toyota has experience in making customers feel comfortable. They know your time is important, and that's how they treat it. Enjoy drive-through service, a comfortable waiting area, friendliest staff. They also know that you look for value, which is why they offer express lube, shuttle service, and ask about the new Whitby Rewards program. It's all part of the Whitby Toyota experience.
So welcome to the Whitby Toyota family.
Whitby Toyota, the little dealership that grew because of folks like you.
All is new at the Old Oak Tree. Even the name. The new Old Oak Tree is the new Oak Tree. You'll still find the same great furniture, the same great craftsmanship, and the same friendly people. The only thing that's different is the name. The new Oak Tree. In fact, they're so excited, they're clearing out old stock at 50% off. Heck, they've even discounted some new stock at 50% off. Find great prices on old world quality. Where else but at the new Oak Tree, formerly the Old Oak Tree. Highway 28 in Port Hope, just north of the 401.
End of the Roll's new fall styles have arrived at incredible prices. Get your whole house floored at End of the Roll, Canada's flooring leader.
Images created by Sign Design.
Welcome back to the Wednesday edition of First Take Live, wherever you're tuning in across Ontario. Thank you once again for finding time for us. We're going to wrap it up because there's a lot that we can cover in the book, but I'm going to encourage you to go to chapters. There is some web information that we had on screen. We'll make sure that comes up, the sweet spot, finding the sweet spot. Dave, I got to ask you this question, and it's on the back of the book, and I love how you put it. And it just says here, now, what am I going to do? Is that so what am I going to do now? I found the sweet spot. I know what my gifts are. I know what I'm passionate about. I know I've got a purpose.
Right.
What am I going to do now?
There's a fascinating story about that. That appeared on the first draft of the book before it was actually published. And one of the people I gave it to left that book face down at a conference they were at. And just about everybody that came along saw that sentence at the top and picked it up and read it. And there's so many people who are asking that question right now. And what this book tries to do is suggest some possible answers for next steps. Because all you can do in a book is get people started. And the road to entrepreneurship starts with that first step. So
is that a really important, not only a prompting question for us, but is it also a question that has to be answered?
I think it has to be answered, and I think the first step for most people is knowing yourself better, knowing who you are, what you love, what you're capable of doing, and what you're meant to do.
Are you really pleased about what this book is doing for people, the feedback you're getting, hearing the stories about people, their successes, their failures?
I'm overwhelmed by it. I'm humbled by it because, as I say, this is not my personal story. I'm just passing on stories from others. I had a discussion the other day with a gentleman in Quebec City who has used this process to establish his own enterprise and was so thrilled by it that he has translated parts of the book into French and is using it to teach students at his course in university.
God bless him, eh?
Absolutely.
if it could go all the way through it. I've only got a minute left. One of the portions we didn't get to is about youth. You say youth get this.
Youth get this because one of the keys, one of the 6 steps is about the importance of building strong relationships. And this generation, this young generation, is more connected than any generation I've ever known before. They use the internet, they use Facebook, they use instant messaging, all kinds of media. They have incredible networks. They know how to mine those networks. They know how to ask people questions for from those networks. And that is absolutely essential. That they're going to be a huge factor in a renewed entrepreneurial market.
Thanks for spending the last hour with us.
Absolutely delightful.
I look forward to our path crossing again, and I only wish you great success.
Thank you.
And once again, the book is available at Chapters. There is some web information that is available for you. If you are about to take this journey, enjoy the ride, but make sure you always keep yourself informed. Have a great night, everybody. Good night.